Shalom, shalom. Israel's brothers, y'all are coming back up with the cold cut. I'd like to give our honor and glory to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. It's going to be a quick cold cut. 12 days before Passover, man. 12 days before Passover. This cold cut going to be dedicated more to the younger men, the younger soldiers, man, that's building themselves up into, in honesty and sincerity. We talk to the brothers, that's doing this work on the highways and byways, but what about those, and the sisters as well, single and married and unmarried? Shout out to the elders as well that's been putting this truth for years. But what about those young brothers, 13, 14, 15? You may be in school. There may be a lot of trials and tribulations. You're dealing with a lot more temptation than most people, speak about. You gotta, you're around influence every single day. You have to go to school. You gotta be around wickedness. You're forced to go around wickedness. For some brothers that may not be in school, or obviously we got jobs, we got to go to the workplace, but you can switch jobs. You can't just, may not be able to get out that environment. You may be in your mom's house or your grandmother's house, wherever the case may be, such as, some of us. But it's time to mature. It's time to grow. This Passover is also about growth. If the Lord allows you to see this Passover, the Lord thinks there's more growth in you that could be done. If the Lord killed you before this Passover, took you out this truth and had you denounce his name, the Lord didn't really see you fit. The Lord really didn't see. He thought he saw potential, but he was like, you know what? You're disappointing me. It's time to go. But if the Lord allows you to see this Passover, guess what? There's more growth for you. There's more things you can learn. The Lord sees something in you as a young man. So it's time to mature, and we got to walk in our purpose, man. Let's go to the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 13. 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 11. It's the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 11. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. What are the childish things that Paul put away? He just said it. He used to think as a child. Your thoughts can't be childlike anymore. Can't be entertained by flesh all the time. Youthful lust. And we're going to get that precept. You can't be entertained by lustful and fleshly desires. You got to hate it, man. You got to hate it. You got to hate it, man. You got to hate the feeling. You got to put your spirit, your mind before your body. And it may be hard, but you got to learn that. And it may take experience. You may have to go through certain things to learn. Some brothers just understand it. And some brothers, they keep falling into the same net. One day, they just got to learn, But Paul said he used to think as a child. He understood as a child. You may have, heard a breakdown, understood a breakdown. You kind of understood it, in a physical sense, but more so, now it's time to understand it spiritually. Now you got to understand the spiritual aspect. You understood as a child. Passover coming up 12 days away. The ordinance of the Passover, the bitter herbs, the lamb, the wine, the unleavened bread. Got to have the staff, the shoes on your feet, and you got to have, you got to be girded. But what is the spiritual aspect of Passover? Now you got to understand it's about Yahweh Shai. In all aspects, it's about Yahweh Shai. And it says what? I thought as a child. Hey, you even spake as a child. You may have, you may be saying folly. You may say folly jokes. Some immature things. Some words. That's in your vocabulary. That just, it's time to grow up now. It's time to be a man. What Paul said, he said, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. It's time to put away childish things. And we know the ultimate form of being a man is keeping Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai's commandments, even in the dark. That's with integrity. Let's go to 1 Kings 2 and 2. This is 1 Kings chapter 2 and verse 2. And it says, I go the way of all the earth. Be thou strong therefore, and show thyself a man, and keep the charge of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments and his testimonies as is written in the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest and whithersoever thou turnest thyself, man. So guess what? The true form of being a man, when you really step into manhood, when you really step up as a leader, one day you want to lead a household, you want to lead your woman, you want to get finances and different things in order, you want to have certain things down. But it all starts with walking in the commandments of the Most High, because that's actually what gives you discipline. As a man, you gotta have discipline. You gotta know. They will tell you, even in this world, the difference between having success and failure is just being able to discipline yourself. There's no difference between certain other individuals that's successful or not. You gotta have discipline. That's all it is. Can you put down drinking for a little bit and not go out that Saturday night just for a few weeks to save some money to invest in what you want to invest in? Can you do it? Or is that flesh too good for you? You know you're not supposed to be talking to this Eve, and you're dealing with this, and you're texting them back and forth, and it's toxic, it's messing up your man. Could you put that away and lock in for Yahweh Bashim Yahushua and grow in the spirit, so the Lord can be with you? Can we do that? It's a lot of things that keeping the commandments just gives you a lot of discipline, and it teaches you faith as well, right? So the Lord said you got to walk in his ways and keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments and his testimonies, the witnesses. Do you know these witnesses that testified that the Lord was real and that he was always with you? Do you know these things? That's faith. When you're in a hard time, because as a man, you're going to go through hard things. You're going to go through trials, tribulations. You're going to have to go through it. You're going to have to experience. And then you have to, guess what? Open up this Bible and look at the Lord's testimonies. And that's what's going to keep you going. Because as a man, the Lord's going to try you. The Lord's going to absolutely put you through the furnace. He may take away your finances. He may take away your car. You know, you may be in school or whatever. You know, and guess what? The Lord may make you the laughing stock, man. People laughing at you. What are those fringes, that carpet? You know, they kind of, trying to so-called pick on you, man. And you got to stand up for Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. You got to stand up for the faith. You know, that's what you got to do. I mean, our forefathers did it. Didn't Micaiah, the son of Imlah, stood up against 400 men that lied and prophesied against Ahab, man? That prophesied for Ahab, even though that was a lie. He stood up against 400 men, right? So, hey, at the end of the day, these are the testimonies of the Lord that we got to keep as men. Let's go to 2 Timothy 2:22. Actually, let's go to Luke 13. Yeah, let's get that. Let's go to Luke chapter 13, and let's start at verse. This is Luke chapter 13. Let's see what we want. Maybe Luke chapter 12. It's time to gird up our loins as men. And that's ultimately what we got to do. Luke 13:34. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Let your loins be girded about, and your lights burning, and ye yourselves like unto men that wait for their Lord. He didn't say boys. He said men. Right? When he will return from the wedding, that when he cometh and knocketh, they may open unto him immediately. And that comes with watching. Men watch. We watch, man. You know, you got to watch. If you're a real man, you're going to be watching. You know, you may have kids, or you may have a, you may have a woman, or, you may have a mother, may have a grandmother, and you watch, you take care of them. You watch diligently. You making sure that no folly befalls them. But you got to watch the same way in the spirit. You got to watch the same way in this world. You got to watch the same way with these prophecies. Watching just doesn't mean watching the prophecies. It means watching every aspect in your life. You got to watch over yourself, watch over your spirit. If you're part of a congregation, you got to watch over your brother's spirit. The Lord told you, pray for your brother, man. There's multiple ways you got to watch, But the Lord said you got to be like unto men. Men do these things. A boy's not going to do these things. A boy's going to be lollygagging around. He's going to be playing around, kicking his feet up, making excuses, procrastinating, not going hard for the Lord, doing what he wants to do. But a man, what the Lord say? And you yourselves, verse 36, and you yourselves like unto men that wait for their Lord, and when he return from the wedding, that when he cometh and knocketh, that they may open unto him immediately. Let's go to the book of 2 Timothy 2:22. This is the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 2, and verse number 22. Shalakia. Let me get this real quick. We got to flee these lusts, these youthful lusts. New Bible. Bear with me. We're breaking it in. It's 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse number 22. Flee also youthful lusts, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, peace with them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart. What is youthful lust? What is youth? It goes into being a child. When you're in your youth, right? So youthful lust is lust that really overtake children, that overtake the flesh and pleasure of what children like, man. When you're a child and understand it may be women, it may be fleshly, carnal, parts of a woman, or, it may be weed, it may be excessive drinking and rioting. You just like to indulge in folly all day. You like speaking vanity. You might just making strange noises, just thinking things are funny when it's really not. These are youthful lusts, man. You got to flee that. You got to put those things away. It's time to get serious. It's time to get to work, man. right? We're trying to get paid. We're trying to get this kingdom. We're trying to get an inheritance. One thing Jake don't play about is his money. You got to be the same way in the spirit. You can't be just playing with your spiritual riches that the Lord gave you, man. You know, the Lord gave you talents. He told you to hold it down, and when I come back, you better flip it, man. Read Luke 19. You better have did something with it so I can give you this kingdom. But if you're going to be playing around, you're going to put in the thing and put in the damn ground. You're not going to really do nothing with your talents. The Lord gave you a mighty talent to exhort, but you don't really exhort. You don't teach. You barely read your Bible. When you read your Bible, just do this, you know. What's for dinner, right? That's all you do. You don't really study. You know the same 3 precepts, and sometimes you get it wrong, you know. And you say, okay, I'm gonna look into that, you know. But what you want tonight. You gotta put away that lustful lust, man. It's time to get serious for this work. Read 1st and 2nd Timothy. Paul was exhorting Timothy, who was the head of a church, and he was a young man. Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 4. 1 Timothy chapter 4. Let's start at verse 12. Let no man despise thy youth. So just because you're a young man, that don't mean nothing. The Lord thought it good for you to be in this truth. Once you come into this truth, you become a man. The Lord says, yeah, he's a man now. The Lord brought you into this truth. Oh, you a man now. The Lord kills kids. The Lord kills children. He judges little boys. Read our kings. You have men that was reigning at 7 years old and did evil in the sight of the Lord. The Lord judged his actions as a 7-year-old. Josiah, guess what? Josiah was 8 years old and did right in the sight of the Lord. So you can definitely do it. Imagine being a king at 16. Imagine being a king at 8, 12, 20. These are real kings in the scriptures. You think it's different because you're in America? The Lord chose you to know the same laws, statutes, and commandments as our kings were in the ancient world at 8 and 9 years old. And guess what? They didn't have a child. They weren't playing outside, man. Do you think the king, when they was learning how to be Jotham and Josiah and Joahad, you think they were you think they had recess? They're learning the law, statutes, commandments. And they said, okay, all right, the high priest says, time for recess. They say, woo, they throw up the law like this, they run outside, and and they trying to see which one's the fastest one, man. They getting grass stains on their gun. They weren't having recess. It was time to lock in. It was time to do the work of the Lord. You know, it was time to do the work of the Lord. So we have to understand that. And I lost my precept. It's all good though. We got to flee youthful lust. Let me actually get that. Let's get this precept. Let's go to the book of 2 Kings. Let's go to the book of 2 Kings, chapter. See what we want. 2 Kings chapter 22, actually 21, and verse 1. Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 55 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Hitzavah. This man was 12 years old. He about to go into 6th grade. He about to be, what they will say, he's going into 6th grade, but the Lord said, and he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, after the abominations of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out before the children of Israel. Guess what? The Lord judged him evil as a 12-year-old. Oh, he has time to learn. He has time to get built up. Hey, once you come into this truth, it's time to get to work, man. It's time to get to work. Yeah, mistakes are happening, but guess what? It's time to push forward, man. It's time to, there's no excuses anymore. You learned this knowledge now. What you waiting for? You're in the last days. Get right, man. Be a man. Grow up, right? Let's get this in 1 Kings chapter 23, 22 and 1. Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Jedidah, the daughter of Adiah of Baskath. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, and walked in all the way of David his father, and turned not aside to the right hand or to the left. And guess what? This man became king 4 years at 8 years old, 4 years less. He wasn't 12, he was 8. And guess what? He did right in the sight of the Lord. So guess what? The Lord not really care about your age, man. The Lord don't care about your age. He called you into this truth. So is he going to get right or get left? Which one is it? Right? But this was a quick cold cut dedicated to our young man. Continue to exhort. Continue to go harder. Continue to grow. Right? especially in that fiery furnace and environment that you are set in by the Most High, you can overcome it. But with that, I'd like to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, and bid it mighty strong. Shalom.